be sort of the referee. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to say, we'll take this law and we'll look at it and we'll tell you what it's actually going to be. But in reality, there are ways to.
So yeah, that kind of gets into the real problem, which is that you have legislative staff who are now interested in primarily constructing legislation, not because of the policy outcome they want to achieve, but for CBO.
CBO, that's what they did with Obamacare.
Exactly.
That's why they had the double counting.
Not just the double counting, but like we're going to have a bizarre budget window so that you don't get any of the out years. And then, so people have sort of talked about, the costs have gone up, and that kind of thing. Well, no, it's just these out years that they had before exempted by basically having all the taxes and paid for sort of front loaded before you ever get to the point where you're actually having to cover anybody and pay for any subsidies and anything like that.
You can game the CBO, and politicians know that and they do it all the time.
And the thing that really frustrates me about it is that nobody really ever calls the CBO on it.
Once in a while,
I ended up with a crappy shotgun, and I did not realize it was a shotgun.
I hate that gun. You have to be very close to someone to actually get a kill with that.
Okay, well now I know. So
killed me.
Oh, sorry. Well, I wanted to get rid of that shotgun. Going to have fewer jobs available because you're going to be in a situation where crap, that guy knifed me, so now I've got this
back to
the crappy shotgun. You're going to have fewer jobs that are available because it's going to be more expensive to actually hire people. You can increase the cost of labor, but you can't actually increase its value with government policy. And so because of that, you're going to end up.
You can pretend that. That's basically what it is.
That's basically what it is. So it's the thing that really is frustrating about that is we'll think about it for a second. If you have fewer people working, and the people who are working, are making slightly more than they were before, what you're actually doing is increasing income inequality. You're not actually doing anything to make it better. We need to be making it cheaper to hire people.
Which is the exact opposite of everything that the president is trying.
Oh yeah, I mean, just what you've done. Everything that you've done with Obamacare is making it more expensive to hire people, more expensive to get people into the job market, and that's completely unfortunate because it's the opposite of what we should be doing.
I hate this sniper rifle. You can't kill anyone with this thing. I've never been good with these things. I got third that time.
At least you got third, man.
I want to get first.
So you subscribe to the if you're not a winner, you're a loser.
Yeah, if you're not first, you're last.
If you're not first, you're last. Yeah.
It's the most obvious thing in the world that if you make it more expensive for employers to hire people, you will have less employment.
Yeah.
And that's all the CBO really says.
John Podhoretz today was making the joke that if this was House of Cards, Frank Underwood would be setting up the CBO with the prostitute right now.
Speaking of House of Cards, have you seen the second season already?
So I have to admit, I've seen the first season, but it was kind of in the background for me for the latter half of it because from my perspective, there was a point where it just kind of jumped the shark and
this is exactly how I feel about it.
Way too ridiculous. It's sort of the 24 thing. When they started out, it's like a much more small bore kind of plot. It's basically just a plot to try to assassinate a presidential candidate. If you sort of rewind to that thing that really sort of changed was they got really aggressive in terms of the
it had to be bigger every season.
Yes, it has to be bigger every season.
Nuclear explosions every season.
Yeah, it's like, another nuke went off. I mean, it's TV, so you forgive that to a certain degree. But it's also one of these things where the DC intrigues, like, yes, there are crazy DC intrigues.
Right.
But it's not all combined to sort of that level of craziness.
Right.
And
this is what I never liked about it. I always like what I don't like about the hype for it. I like the show. I think the show is entertaining as a TV show that isn't to be taken as serious.
And just for the record, the show that is the serious representation of how DC is Veep. Okay.
I've had a McCollum staff.
That is the most realistic representation of what DC is like. People arguing over parking spaces and petty little insults. Do you like the Olympics?
I do like the Olympics.
I really don't like the Olympics. I don't think. I mean, I like the hockey. I guess I like
love the hockey.
the thing that.
It's
Well,
so good. Did you see the rushing?
hey man, I got to point this out. This is the first time I've gotten more kills than you. Of course, the Russia stuff was incredible along the lines of what that seems to think they
Die, Ben. Okay. Yeah. The Olympics are definitely a star maker, like you were saying.
Yeah.
She's a huge star now, basically, and that wasn't even a medal game that he shot all those penalty shot goals in. It was so much fun to watch that. It was that was incredible. I was dying. My attitude towards Olympic sports that I don't like is the same as my attitude towards, international soccer or things like that. If you're an American, I don't care if nobody in this country pays attention to or likes your sport. You should win. It doesn't matter to me if I don't like ice dancing or whatever. I still want us to win the game.
Yeah.
That's just the way I feel about it. If you're an American, you should be the best.
I wish I cared more. I guess is what I'm
Right.
saying.
Here's something that many people might also not care about,
Sure.
but that people like us might be more interested in. The latest Donald Trump controversy between
Oh yes.
with the McKay Coppins of BuzzFeed
Yes.
did a long profile on the Donald, and it was not
So what do
the most
you think
flattering
of
thing in the
what
world.
do you think of Donald Trump?
I do not like Donald Trump at all. I think that he's more or less just a huckster in every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Really, from his whole act of being like the great, I'm such a great businessman, to the political stuff. It's all one giant act, and it all changes depending on whatever way he sees. I think that him speaking at CPAC is embarrassing.
I think it is too. One of the things that I think is sad about it is that the perspective of the left is they want to make everything that the right does into a sideshow.
Mhm.
They want to make them seem like, they're just a bunch of clowns.
Right.
They're an unserious movement, an unserious party, unserious ideologically, et cetera, et cetera. I have to admit something that's sort of weird and unfortunate, but unfortunate. I've actually never been to CPAC.
Really?
No, I am one of those terrible people who just is like a hanger-on who goes to like the parties or will have dinner with people while they're in town or stuff like that. Like I have never actually been to CPAC proper, and maybe that's bad of me, but
I would say that after the first couple of years in politics, I just turned 27 last week.
congratulations.
Thank you. So by no means am I do I have that much longevity.
Well, I'm 32 and I'm just old as crap.
Right.
So,
But even at our age,
Mhm.
I would say that after the first couple of years of doing the sort of political circuit, of the conference circuit, I guess you could call it, because there's dozens of these conferences every year. I mean,
and they're
CPAC's
terrible. They're all wasting time.
They're all the same thing.
People.
Yeah, it's the same people and it's the same
Yeah.
topics and the same everything. And after a while, it gets very, very tiresome, very, boring.
You're really just there to sort of see the politicians try out their latest,
Yeah.
wares,
The latest
see which things are going to work when they go to Iowa.
I have someone. Sorry. But you go for networking. I think CPAC is especially important for that.
Whoa! Gosh,
You're getting rocked.
this rocket guy.
I have a sniper rifle.
It definitely, the experience of this game is very different based on which things you get.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the challenge. You
Yeah.
gotta be good with everything. You gotta try to be good with everything.
I guess it forces you to be like
Man, I still
very
didn't even know.
skilled there.
Getting back to Donald Trump, the
Yeah.
latest ripple is this. So McKay wrote sort of a scathing, or more or less negative, I guess you could.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's scathing, but it's negative.
Do you know McKay?
I do. I
Okay.
do. I know McKay, and he seems like a pretty nice guy to me. I mean,
I don't know.
I've been a prominent critic of BuzzFeed generally in the past, but I don't think they're a loss.
Do you think BuzzFeed is bad for America? Like Hackbar?
Okay, no. BuzzFeed proper, I guess you could. The main site is that's internet culture. That's the direction we're heading. I think we need to conservatives need to be engaged in that.
I guess
But I don't necessarily see BuzzFeed politics people. I think they're actually somewhat better than most mainstream journalists, and that's what I see them as because that's what they are. They're mostly people who come from places like Newsweek and
yeah.
and the Daily Beast, the traditional Time